Leni and Bongbong Untold Love Story. You're really blocking my way to get back in power. Ano? Bongbong asked with so much agitation. I just stood there, unfiltered by his dominating presence. He was currently clad in his usual striped polo shirt, tucked in a long loose pants, while his hair was styled neatly. His fashion really never gets changed. Yes, he can pull over some girls with his look and how he dress up, but damn it, the world is revolving. Does he think we're still in the 1980s era? Say something, Maria Leonor Heron. Robredo. I immediately cut him off. I am Maria Leonor Robredo. I stared at him coldly. I am a married woman already, so you have to address me with my husband's surname. Suddenly, his face turned sour as if he didn't like what he just heard. Don't flatter yourself too much, Leonor. Do you think I'm still head over heels for you? Hindi na ako kagaya ng lalaking kilala mo noon. I will never let my head loose over a woman this time, he said through gritted teeth. Besides, I quit climbing on your standards. You're not even worth it, he said casually as if he didn't court me for 3 years. Nabasted lang kita, nagaganyan ka na, I chuckled sarcastically. Bigla siyang napayuko sa kahiya. Nakita ko rin ang papupula ng kaniyang mga tainga. Don't worry, I regretted courting you. Don't worry as well, Mr. Marcos. I also regretted allowing you for courting me. I smiled back. He just stared at me coldly while his hands are in his pants pockets. Don't tell me it's just coincidence that after I filed my candidacy for president, you also filed the day after. I know you plotted this, Leonor. You're not running to help the Filipinos but to ensure that the Marcoses will not back in power again. I just smirked at his statement. You did not get the logic, don't you? I smiled at him. Yes, I ran for presidency for you and your family to not govern this country again. I will never let any Marcoses who are infamous of being murderers, evil and corrupt run this country again. If you still don't get the logic, it only means that fighting you means saving my countrymen. Watch your words, Maria Leonor, his voice thundered. Do not pass my father's wrongdoings in me and on my candidacy, he countered back. If you don't acknowledge and apologize of what your father have done in the past, you will always be still part of it, Mr. Marcos. You're still an accessory of the crime, I hissed. And please stop calling me by my name. I suddenly bit my lower lip. He just smiled at me. And why would I? He suddenly inched the gap between us, and I couldn't breathe properly. Me speaking your name would still make you startle, isn't it? With the remaining strength within me, I pushed him away. Stop being delusional, Mr. Marcos. What we had in the past are just in the past. Out of nowhere, he just smiled at me like a fool. You're really not changing, Leonor. You're still that bold and feisty woman. Just my type, he whispered. Yeah, kaya nga di ka sumipot sa presidential debate, diba? Because you are afraid of me. You're afraid of my capability. He just chuckled and was somehow amazed at my audacity. Hindi ba pwedeng ayaw lang kitang matalo? Kasi sa simulat sa pool, under di saya mo naman ako eh. He suddenly confessed. My cheeks suddenly flushed into a crimson red. Hindi ko na napigilan ang sarili ko at sinigawan siya. That's why I busted you dahil sa ugali mong yan. Palagi kang hindi sumipot, palagi kang wala, palagi ka na lang palusot at alibay. Akala mo kasi kagaya lang ako sa mga babaeng dumaan sa buhay mo na makukuha lang ng mga material na bagay o pera. But damn it, ang tanga ko lang kasi sineryoso ko ang panliligaw mo. I even let it progress for 3 years. Marcos just stared at me, totally shocked at my sudden confession. You were the one who pursued me first, Bong. You were the one who entered my life first, but you were the one who busted me, because you were just taking me for granted. I answered back and there I cried. A long stretch of awkward silence suddenly took over between us. Tanging ang mga iyak ko lang ang naririnig. I'm sorry. He broke the silence. He stared at me sensorily and he was about to wipe my tears, but I stepped back and look at him while crying hardly. And you know what's worst? Because on the day when I dumped you, you have no idea how it haunted me each night. How regrets filled me. Iyak lamang ako ng iyak. But dahil I care, gusto ko lang masabi ang hindi ko nasasabi sa kanya noon. Bong, believe me, sinubukan kitang hahanapin at hahabulin noon, pero sa gitna ng paghahanap ko, may nahanap ka na pala. And there I bursted more in tears. When I met Jessie, I felt guiltier because even if I have a husband already, your name and our story is still within me that I kept on sharing to my kids. Para na akong tanga sa kakaiyak, but I don't care. I just want to vent out all these bottled emotions that I kept for too long. Suddenly, I felt his arms around me. His scent drifted into my nostrils, and for a brief moment, it felt like I was brought back to the days when we started, when everything is still okay. I'm sorry, he kept on saying repeatedly. I'm really sorry, Leonor. Mas lalo akong nadurong nang makita ko siyang umiiyak na rin. I guess our love story is really written to be this way, he said with so much regrets. I'm sorry for not fighting for you, for us, he whispered. I just stared at him and I smiled at him. It's okay, I whispered faintly. We're still the main characters, right? I smiled. He just smiled weakly and there he cried harder. Yeah, we're still the main character but no longer in the same book. Mas lalo lang akong napaluha sa sinasabi niya. We both cried while the rain is pouring so hard. I smiled at him and I couldn't hold my emotion any longer, and there I hugged so tight. I guess this is how we end, he whispered as he hugged me back. When we break our hugs, I smiled at him, a smile of accepting the fact that we are meant to be rivals, not lovers. Before we walked away, Bongbong said something that completely shattered my heart. See you on the election day, my almost. May the best candidate wins.